You're all set, Jim.
Okay.
Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really do appreciate it. Hope you come back often and tell your friends about it so they can also join in the fun. Before we start the show, I want to introduce Father Ron Walters for the show's prayer. Father Walters, welcome.
O God, as we create in miniature the world around us, we marvel at the beauty and genius which created the world and instilled in us a portion of your great knowledge and wisdom. Give success to the work of our hands, O God. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father. We appreciate so much everything that you do for our show. Now I want to run the sponsor video for our show for Brennan's Model Railroading.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wenky Coffee Company is the latest and the fourth kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
Well, now I want to go to the My Bill segment. And I want to I forgot last week to run the video for the sponsor for the My Bill, which is Dan Darty's company, Model Railroad Resource LLC. So I want to run that this week. So Pat, if you could run that video for me.
Welcome to the world of scale, O and S railroading. We are your resource for all O and S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
And I apologize to Dan and his company for missing it last week. But now let me introduce Chris Scorse and Greg Cassidy, who are in charge of the My Bill for us. Chris, welcome.
Thanks, Jim. The next My Build challenge is on August 21st, and that challenge is harvest. So whatever you can do to kind of fit that theme, if it's farm equipment, grain elevators, hopper cars, mills, tractors, agricultural items, barns, silos, those sorts of things, or even food related box cars, whatever you can do to fit into that category, we'd love to see it. So please share those with us. You can email your photos to me, railrunner130@hotmail.com. And please have your photos to me by the 18th of August so that we can compile them. And if you have not participated in the past to a My Build, which please participate, especially if you have not participated in the past. But if this is you, please also include a photo of yourself for your introductory slide. So, Greg, did you have anything to throw in there?
Yeah, something I'd like to add. Last week's My Build, I saw a lot of great modeling there. Some of it was structures, some of it was layout. But I was disappointed. There were a couple of people that, for one reason or another, they weren't able to make it on the show. And we had a lot of questions about what they were showing us. So if you send something in, doesn't hurt to throw just a little information like maybe the scale and if it's something unusual, what you were building or what you were going for, or if it's your layout, maybe something about it, so that if you're unable to make it to the show, we know a little bit more about what you were building. Because there was some great stuff last week. I was just not sure about a couple of them.
Yeah, the context is what we're missing. So you could please throw that context in there if you're not going to make it, or if you haven't participated before, please send us that information. That way, if you can't get your camera running or whatever, at least we can talk intelligently about it. So
Sort of.
yes, as intelligently as we're gonna. So, all righty. Well, that's it for tonight. So I'll turn it back over to you, Jim.
Well, thanks both of you so much for doing the My Builds. I think they're really becoming very successful. We're getting an awful lot of views on the YouTube video for the My Builds. So thanks so much for both of you for the effort that you're putting into to getting it going. Well, let's start the show. And the first thing that we want to do is announce our awards for the scholarship for this year. And we're really, really pleased with the amount of response that we got. Several years ago, Walters became the first model railroad company to offer scholarships to young model railroaders. Their program, and then the encouragement of people like Phil Edholm, is what convinced me to try to get New Tracks to be able to have a scholarship program that would involve the total model railroading community. I was really leery about doing it, scared really, because no one had ever tried to do this before with the model railroad community. I wasn't sure that we could get any donations, wasn't sure anybody cared. But we found out that they do care, and we got a lot of help along the way. I really want to thank all of the members of the model railroad community who donated to, who worked on, who have helped in so many different ways to make this program as successful as it is today. This evening, our announcements and presentations of our three $2,000 2024 scholarships is going to be made by Bob Davidson. Bob is the vice president of our nonprofit corporation, New Tracks Mentoring, Inc., and chairman of our New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship Committee. Just for everybody's information, after the show, a video of this event and the total show will be available on our New Tracks Modeling YouTube channel. And with that said, I'd like to introduce Bob Davidson. Bob, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks so much. And let me just say that your vision and Phil's has really been the impetus that has kept this thing going and growing. So I'm going to jump right in here and share my screen and start our presentation. So again, this is our announcement for the 2024-2025 academic year. As Jim said, the first year we were able to offer one scholarship. This year we're offering three, and three $2,000 scholarships. I thought it would be helpful to do just a little brief history of the scholarship and what it is. So we are a unique scholarship in that we are made for model railroaders and other modelers. All of our applicants need to be pursuing a STEAM-related college degree, science, technology, engineering, math, and art, or art college degree, or a technical school credential. And as Jim said, this is open to students in all 50 United States who are attending college anywhere in the United States. So our mission is to encourage these young modelers to develop their skills and maintain their connection to model railroading through mentoring and educational opportunities. Jim has often spoke about how one of the fears that we all have, those of us who have been doing this for so long, is that we need to regenerate ourselves. We need the next generation and the generation after that to step up and continue this. So how we'll resolve our mission is through our vision to provide this financial assistance through educational scholarships. Eventually, we may do some grant programs to inspire continued interest and expertise in railroad modeling. So the highlights of the first year, last year's, again, just to get everyone up to speed, we were incorporated in Florida as New Tracks Mentoring Incorporated, and we received our 501c3 status as a nonprofit corporation. And let me say a special thanks to Jeff Jordan, who's our counsel, and his firm. Those of you, and I know there are several NMRA chapters that are been going through trying to get a nonprofit status for years. We got our nonprofit status in about 6 weeks. So it's just incredible. We have been approved as a Florida-based charity. That first year, we had marketing presence at a lot of major trade shows. Over 1,000 views of our scholarship page on the website. Last year, we had 7 scholarship applications. We began using Zephy for online fundraising. So all of our funds raised through the online portal, 100% go to the scholarship. There are no fees deducted, no carrying costs, nothing. And last year, we awarded our first $1,000 scholarship. This year, we're very pleased to say that for 23-24, we were able to retain our corporate donors. We fulfilled an anonymous donor's $1,000 fundraising challenge. That one challenge enabled us to grant one of these scholarships. In addition, we received underwriting for our scholarship from the Pacific Coast region of the NMRA. We've had continued marketing presence at major trade shows and at conferences. We had 9 scholarship applications this year, and we will, as of tonight, have awarded 3 $2,000 scholarships. I would like to thank everyone, the corporation, New Tracks Mentoring, Inc., Jim Kello, the president. As he said, I'm the vice president. Phil Edholm is our secretary. Tom Farrell is our treasurer. And Jeff Jordan is our counsel. The committee, which actually does the day-to-day operations, is the entire board, as well as Martin Breckmill and Jamie Bothwell. In addition, this year, we had an application review subcommittee. Martin was the chair on that. Jamie joined us. Steve Sherrill was on that subcommittee, as well as Chip Merriam from the Pacific Coast region. So with that all said, let's move to our first scholarship recipient. And that recipient is Robert Winter from Mill Creek, Washington. And he will be attending the University of Washington next year as an incoming freshman, and he'll be majoring in mechanical engineering. So with that, I'm going to stop my share. And Robert, you are online, I believe, and if you can unmute yourself. There he is. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you. This is a really cool opportunity.
Well, we are so proud to have you as part of the New Tracks family now. And I thought I would just ask a few questions. Why don't you tell everyone how you got started in model railroading?
So I started at a really young age. My grandpa would go to swap meets and just pick up stuff, and sometimes he'd come home with like toys and stuff. And so one day he brought home this little HO scale. Okay, you can't really. It's a little 440, and some track, and I set it up and ran a few circles on the dining room table, and it just kind of grew from there. Eventually, we had two circles or two ovals, and we had a little switch track in the middle, so we could pass cars back and forth. And then eventually, we started going to train shows and stuff like that, and I really got into it. And we went up to this model train club a little bit north of where I live, and we went up there a couple of times, and eventually one of the members let me run one of their trains for a little bit, and I did a good job, I guess. And they offered if we wanted to join. So then me and my dad joined, and I got this Amtrak F40 PH, and this was like kind of my first like real model train that I got, and just kind of grew from there.
That's fantastic. Now, is that the Whatcom Skagit Model Railroad Club?
Yes.
How did they get that name?
That's just the area. It's the two northernmost counties in Washington State are Whatcom County and Skagit County. So they're just kind of like right on the border.
So you are now modeling in ON30?
Yeah, so HO and ON30.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for college?
I'm going to the University of Washington Bothell, and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering. And I'm not really decided on the minor yet.
Okay. Wow. Well, good luck to you on that.
Thank you.
Now, what do you think the scholarship is going to do to help you out?
Well, from what I've heard, the University of Washington has a lot of like extra opportunities and stuff. So like maybe like extra clubs or like study abroad programs and stuff like that, it will help me participate in those more.
Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Jim, do you have any questions for Robert or anyone in the audience? If you have anything you'd like to ask him?
Robert, you're an impressive young man, and
Thank you.
we're so proud that we're able to help you a little bit financially through with your college education. We wish you the very best. Hope you won't forget us. And anytime you'd like to come back, please feel free to do it and join in our show and tell us what you're doing. We'd love to try to keep track of you a little bit. And if we can help you in some way, please let us know.
Thank you very much.
That's wonderful. Well, I just like to add that, all these modelers, and Robert, you're certainly a good example, are just such good examples of the young generation that we have coming into our hobby. And the fact that I think it's so great that, your family, starting with your grandpa, that's how your interest started. And this is a real family affair that we're involved in. And hopefully now, as I said, you're part of the New Tracks family. And you've got the link, so you can come every Wednesday and watch, and you're going to learn a whole lot from there's some incredibly talented modelers. And I'm sure at some point we're going to start learning from you.
Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Most success to you.
All right, so we're going to go back to the presentation here. And one of the things that obviously keeps all this going are donations. And at this point, I just wanted to give a big thank you to our bronze level sponsors who have been with us for a couple of years now and hopefully will be with us into the future. And that's Brennan's Model Railroading, Dennis Brennan, who does so much for New Tracks. New Creations Victoria, actually all these people do so much for New Tracks. I don't mean to single out anyone. New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings and Alan Rogers. John Gear at the Great Scale Model Train Show. And the Dan and Amy Dowdy, who again do so much through their O-Scale and S-Scale resource magazines. And I know that we have quite a few of these folks here tonight, and if we could call on somebody, maybe Alan, are you up?
Certainly.
Could you maybe just share a little bit about why you're involved with the scholarship and more importantly, what it means to your company?
Well, I'm 65 years old today, and
Happy birthday.
thank you. I'd rather spend it with you folks than anybody else. But at this stage in my life, I feel like one of my biggest jobs is to help mentor other people. And incidentally, I also have two young organ students who are sisters, and I'm teaching organ on the side to them. And but as far as my company's involvement with the scholarship program, I'm just delighted to be involved with New Tracks, and it's just my small way of trying to give back a little bit. And that's it in a nutshell.
Well, it's so appreciated. I can't tell you how much it means to us to have you and the other companies that are involved with the scholarship help us out. Dennis, you're out there.
Yes, I am.
Why
I'm
don't you-
just proud to be part of this. Jim got me all excited about it. And just like Alan said, it's a way for me to give back. And to see a young person like Robert, who is moving on, and we're able to help him in a small way, I think that's awesome. And I saw what, that picture of the layout that he was standing in front of. That's beautiful. And I hope we see a lot more from him, because he's a good modeler.
Yes, that's the real deal there.
Yes, it is. So
Yeah.
thanks for the opportunity. And like I said, like Jim said, like you said, we're here to help. So if anybody ever needs anything, just tune in or even give me a call. I'm always happy to help any way I can. So thanks for the opportunity again. And I'm proud of all of our scholarship recipients.
Absolutely, we all are. Well, thank you again. I don't know if Scott or Dan or Amy are on tonight. I don't think they are. I just did a quick look. Is Scott on? Year or Dan or Amy Dowdy? I don't think so.
No.
All right, so we'll go back and we'll get back into this. So those were our corporate sponsors. I do want to point out, I won't read off all the names, but these are the individuals who made donations this past year, literally from A to Z. We can't thank you all enough for all you do on contributing to the show, but also literally contributing to the scholarship fund. This means so much to us. It means so much to these students. So thank you all so very much. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be back and we'll be kicking off our 2025-2026 campaign. So we'll be in touch. So our next scholarship recipient, I'm very proud to introduce, is Brock Durham from, and I know I'm going to say this wrong, but I think it's Beaufort, South Carolina, or is it, I don't think they say Beaufort, but someone will correct me. I think it's Beaufort. And Brock is a junior at the Citadel. So I'm going to stop my share. And Brock, there you are.
Hello, hello.
Welcome and congratulations on being one of our scholarship recipients.
Thank you very much. And it is Beaufort, South Carolina. There is a lot of
Okay, now we
confusion.
know.
There's Beaufort, and then there's Beaufort, and then, so there's a lot of different ones. It often happens.
Very good. And what is your major what are you majoring in at the Citadel?
I am majoring in civil engineering.
Phenomenal. We got engineers coming. That's great. So why don't you share a little bit about how you got started in modeling?
So it all started when my parents bought me the classic wooden Thomas locomotives, just the little ones. And one Christmas, my grandfather and grandmother bought me a Lionel O-scale locomotive. And from there, it went from being a hobby to an addiction. It just spiraled out of control. So now I have a whole wall of trains, and I've made my own turntable. I've made some train tables for hospice and various other groups. But it really has been a blast to deal with. But some various models I have is just like this one right here is a custom made Florida East Coast. This would have been a train that went to Key West. And I tried to find this locomotive online and buy it, but they didn't make it. So I had to make it, which is, I think, is a big part of modeling, is seeing that, oh, they don't have this, I want to make it. So that's just been a big part of my hobbying, just being able to build things that I would have never thought about actually making before.
Right, right. Now, you also did a large scale live steam locomotive.
That was a 6.5-inch gauge that is currently in my garage. But one day I found that at an old antique store with a friend. And I thought at first it was just wood until I knocked on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the real deal. So I started working on it over last summer, and now it's fully restored and working. So
That's phenomenal.
yeah.
Phenomenal. Now, do you have a layout? Is there a layout in your area that you can run that on?
Unfortunately, no. I'm from a small harbor town, so there's not a lot of other model train fans. But I had a table. It's just my mom eventually said, you got to take it down. But that's why I built my turntable, and I use fast track. So when I get home on the weekends, I can just quickly set up a track if I want to and just play around for a little bit
That's
and just
wonderful.
quickly put it away.
Yeah. You're also an Eagle Scout.
Yes.
That's great. Congratulations. Why don't
Well,
you
thank
say
you.
a little bit more about the work that you did for the hospice group where you are?
So one year, a close family friend was working for hospice, and they were talking about adding a Christmas train table to their tree exhibit. So one friend said, I know just the right guy. And they gave me a call and they said, hey, can you set up a model train table for us? And I didn't even think about it. I just said, yes, please. So I set it up for 2 years, and I made 2 train tables for them. And they were both just like Christmas themed. The first one was just a winter wonderland, and the second one was like a North Pole. But it was very fun doing that.
That's wonderful. That's so good of you to give back to your community like that. So where do you see yourself after you graduate from the Citadel? What do you hope to do?
Well, I hope I can work for some kind of engineering firm in my area, somewhere from like Charleston, South Carolina, somewhere like that. But I hope to stay in the hobby, and I really just want to be able to stick with it.
Cool. And again, I'll ask you, as I asked Robert, what does this scholarship mean to you?
Well, college is not cheap. It is very expensive. So being able to have some financial assistance really does help. So I really like to say thank you. It really helps.
Well, again, we are proud of you and welcome to the New Tracks community. Jim, you
Well,
want to
thank
add
you.
anything?
Well, yeah, Brock, we're really honored that you applied for our scholarship, and we're so pleased that we were able to provide you a little financial assistance. We hope that you do the best for our hobby in the future. If we can help you in any way, we'd love to be able to do that. If you'd like to come back and be part of our show, you're welcome anytime. And we really wish you do the most success in your future career. And we really do, again, appreciate so much you applying for our scholarship. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else have any questions for Brock? All right. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your being here tonight, and we hope to see you again here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I will go back and share and get into the next segment. This year, as we've talked about quite often, we were fortunate to enter into a agreement with the Pacific Coast region for them to sponsor one of our scholarships. This was in no small part thanks to Phil Edholm and his work, and we appreciate that. And they became a good partner in helping us award these scholarships and provided people to our committee to help review the applications. Frank Markovich could not be here tonight, but we do have this pre-recorded little message from Frank, and I'd like to share that with you now.
The PCR, we're really excited. That's a Pacific Coast region of the National Model Railroad Association. I'm the current president of the PCR, and we're really excited to sponsor Ethan Bernstein. He seems to be an excellent modeler. He has excellent grades and is pursuing a career that we're really proud of. I really wish I could be there on the 31st, but I'm also involved with the museum in Sacramento, and the 31st we're having a grand opening sort of the magic of scale model railroading, and I and another guy built the main layout for that. So I pretty much have to be there, but we're excited. We will be following your career, and we wish you all the best.
Well, come on. So with that, he kind of let the cat out of the bag, but the scholarship recipient of the PCR sponsored scholarship is Ethan Bernstein of Marriottsville, Maryland. He is going to be a senior at Johns Hopkins University, majoring in engineering. And I guess I get to say, welcome back to Ethan. Ethan was the recipient of our first scholarship last year. And first off, let me say congratulations. We're so glad that you applied again. And I'm going to let you tell your story as well. For those that don't know, why don't you describe how you got started in model railroading?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really grateful to have gotten this award yet again. And what New Tracks does is fantastic. It's really awesome to see a modeling community reaching out to us younger members, and we really appreciate it. And that's kind of how I got into it. But then I also do want to say thank you to the Pacific Coast region of the NMRA. That is awesome. I really appreciate it from Frank. So thanks so much there as well. So yeah, I got into model railroading just like the other two recipients, very young. We started with Thomas the Tank Engine. I had the die-cast Thomas the Tank Engine, which aren't that far off from N scale. So maybe some inspiration there, but I also had like the plastic ones. And then later that evolved into when I went to Wegmans, there would be the G-scale train that ran up above. And I was always really fascinated by that, and I would just spend time staring at that. And so one year, my parents got me a Lionel set that was the Wegmans train, and that to this day is still a Christmas train that goes around the tree, even though it has pictures of sushi rolls on the side and veggies on the boxcar. I love that train set so much. And then from there was an HO scale train set that followed one year, but then eventually it really took off in the end of elementary school when I discovered my local model train shop one summer, and I wanted to spend my allowance money. And so my mom took me to the train shop. It was Model Train Stuff. For those of you who shop online, you might recognize that one. They no longer have a storefront, but when they did, it was a fantastic place to go. And everyone there was so supportive of the hobby, of course. And so got my first train set with my allowance money, an N-scale Kato starter set. And from there, just kept building it out. Had 2 loops on a table. My parents were gracious enough to lend me the loft-ish space in our old house. Then eventually it grew into a bedroom. And then I discovered the Great Scale Train Shows, which happened in Timonium, Maryland. And I started going to those. And there's an N-scale club there, Baltimore Area N-Track. And I saw their club for a few years. And then one year my mom's like, well, why don't you go see if you can be a part of the club? And so I went over, and they graciously accepted me in. And as that from there, I've been in that club for, I don't even know now. That was 6th or 7th grade. So at this point, we're approaching 7, 8 years with band track. Love that club. I started Yeah, I started writing for the newsletter during just before COVID started, and then that kept me occupied and got me into scratch building and all that. And I was kind of like the main author in the Bandtrack newsletter. And then from there, I branched out to NRail, formerly NTrack, and started writing for them as well. And now I write for the NMRA and do reviews for them, still sticking at N scale. I have a decent sized home layout that my parents have lended me the space in the basement for. And then I also, when I can, set up some trains at school when underneath my bed or wherever I have space. Space is definitely more limited there, but definitely try and do what I can still to stay engaged in the hobby, to go to as many train shows as I can. And it's been really great. I've absolutely love it.
So tell us about your studies at Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, I am in material science and engineering. So for those of you unfamiliar with material science, it is a bit more of a niche major in a way, though we like to say it's the science of everything because everything's a material and thus we study everything. But we focus more at like the atomic scale of materials. So for something like steel, we want to understand compositionally based on elements that are in it and the ratio of them that are in it and how they arrange, how that determines the structure, and then how can we optimize that to produce better materials, both in terms of strength, but also in terms of producibility, and now in terms of making them more environmentally friendly. And so going into my senior year here, I'll be doing a like capstone kind of project, our senior design project. And so I'll be looking at an alternative to concrete that is actually carbon negative in the overall scheme of the product. So yes, it'll produce carbon to make it, but then it is plant-based, so it'll actually absorb carbon dioxide. That's the idea. Long-term goal, but we'll start doing some testing once the semester starts. And then I also do research on metal 3D printing, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's fascinating. So how do you see, or have you seen that your course of study has influenced you at all as a modeler?
I would actually say it's the other way around for me. I discovered material science as a result of model railroading. I've always been a tinkerer and I love working with different materials when I'm scratch building. So popsicle sticks, matchsticks, that evolved into like 3D printing, and other ways just to mix as many things as I can, just because I love seeing when different things, like, if you're building a wood building, yes, wood does the trick the best. But if you want to make something that's stone or brick, you can get really cool results with 3D printing and CAD modeling and be able to create whatever you want and produce that. In addition to model railroading, I just like building things in general. So I also work in S scale for tractors and some trains there. I've built full locomotives there. And then I've always loved Lego. So I just mess with whatever I can and like to get my hands on everything. And from that, I think sparked the inspiration for material science, just because it's studying how all these different materials interact and understanding why they work the way they do. And that's very much stayed true and they've reinforced each other over time. As my interest in model railroading grow, my interest in material science do as well, and vice versa. So definitely it's a very key part of me, I would say.
Wonderful. So I can ask, you're the only one I can ask this. How did the scholarship last year help you out? And how will this year's scholarship help you out at Johns Hopkins?
Yeah, Johns Hopkins is a fantastic school, but man, is it expensive. So the scholarship helps out in many ways to just make it easier to continue to pursue my education and study what I want to study. And I'm very grateful to be honored to receive that yet again this year. And it'll continue to let me pursue my endeavors in senior year and make the most out of my college experience.
Well, congratulations to you. Jim?
Well, Ethan, welcome back. Congratulations again. We're glad to see you. We're glad that you're doing well. Congratulations on getting ready to graduate and go to graduate school, I think. So I wish you best of luck in your future. And thank you so much for everything that you've done, Ethan, for the hobby, because you've already made a difference at your young age. And we hope in the future you'll continue to make just as much an effort.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
So again, congratulations. All right, so we will finish this up. I do want to say some thank yous to these gentlemen and many others. For the last 2 years, we've been carting and shipping and setting up and taking down banners and flyers and now video screens. And these folks do it all, and I haven't had any complaints. So we really do appreciate all the help that we get from these folks and many others who help us out at the train shows and at the conferences. So thank you. Now, how can you help? I'll make a quick pitch at the end of this since we have everyone so enthralled. Join us. We need you. We need committee members. We need folks to help us out. Make a donation either through Zephy or by sending a check. Everything's up at newtracksmodeling.com/scholarship. Tell your friends, tell your club members, tell retailers about this scholarship. And most importantly, let potential applicants know about the scholarship. We had 9 applications this year. We'd like to see a lot more. And frankly, if we see a lot more, then the demand will be there for us to raise more funds. So the more the demand is there, the more we'll be able to give out in the way of scholarship. Bring flyers to your local train shows, talk it up, do what you can to help us out. This has just been such a great year. We never guessed that we'd be where we are after only basically 18 months. So again, heartfelt congratulations to Robert Winter, to Brock Durham, and to Ethan Bernstein, our 2024-2025 academic year scholarship recipients. So congratulations to you all. Jim, that's all I got.
But let me also say congratulations to Bob Davidson. If it hadn't have been for all of the hard work, all of the creativity, Bob, you may not know, Bob prepared and donated all of the banners that we use at the shows around the country through his company, Exhibits and more. And we certainly appreciate everything that you've done, Bob, because couldn't have asked for a better partner in this endeavor. And you certainly have gone way beyond what anybody certainly expected from a volunteer. We can't thank you enough for everything that you've done.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
And Bob mentioned too Jeff Jordan and his law firm. And I can't tell you how important that was. Because when we first started this, we were just a bunch of guys that had an idea, and we didn't have a 501c3. Somebody said you needed to get one. Somebody said, well, that'll cost you tens of thousands of dollars for attorney fees. Somebody else said, well, it'll take you 2 years to get it. Well, along comes a modeler by the name of Jeff Jordan, who sent me an email and said, I think I may be able to help you. So he and his law firm pitched in, and within a month, 6 weeks, we had the 501c3. They did it pro bono for us so that we didn't have to spend the tens of thousands of dollars that we didn't have in the first place. But it couldn't have been a better situation for us. And without Jeff, I don't think that we would have gotten the amount of donations that we got. And I don't think we could have achieved what we've achieved in this first 18 months. So Jeff, we owe an awful lot to you as well for what your law firm and what you personally contributed to make this all possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. I'm very pleased to be able to assist. After many years of practicing corporate law, I found the best way I could give back is by helping organize nonprofit organizations and use my expertise to help them obtain their 501c3 recognition. And so I'm very glad as a modeler as well to have helped out New Tracks Mentoring.
We couldn't have done it without you. I mean, it really was fantastic how you and your law firm were able to get it done for us so quickly and so hassle-free. I've heard horror stories of other places trying to get 501c3s, and for us, it was answering a couple of questions, submitting a couple of forms, and bingo, the IRS decided they'd go along with it. So it couldn't have been a better experience. Thank you so very much.
And having a law firm that knew how to do it. Just a short plug for my law firm. My law firm has now a 80-year history of pro bono activity, and I'm glad to add this to its long list of pro bono achievements.
Fantastic for us. Thank you so much again, Jeff. Well, now let's try to do a little modeling tonight, now that we've gotten the honors and awards out of the way. So I'd like to go to G-Scale Modeling. The sponsor for it is Alan Rogers' company. And so if we could run that video, please.
Welcome to New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings, located in Bakersfield, California, 1 hour from the famed Tehachapi Loop. As part of building his model railroad layout, Alan Rogers took photos and made scale drawings of a number of buildings in the Southwest, many of which no longer exist. New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings has turned these photos and drawings into kits with laser-cut wood, 3D printed components and detailed instructions. We produce kits in HO, O, S, N and G scales. Our O scale kits are compatible with Holiday Village dioramas. You can see our products at train shows or use the QR code to visit our website. We hope you will try our unique kits. They are easy and fun to build, even for beginners. You will enjoy the finished models for many years to come.
And now I'd like to introduce the host for G-Scale Modeling, Steve Bittinger. Steve, welcome.
I see his layout room, but I don't see him.
Trains while he's not there.
I beg your pardon?
I said, can we run his trains while he's not looking?
Steve Sherrill is supposedly with him. Steve, are you available? I mean, and we still can't see Steve Bittinger?
I don't see Steve Sherrill either. Where'd he go?
Yeah, they're there. I just saw them. And you're, Steve.
Hello.
Back by popular demand, Mr. Steve Sherrill.
There we go.
Am I okay now? You
Yeah.
got us?
We're looking for Steve Bittinger.
He's right
Hello.
there.
Hello, Steve Bittinger. Okay. All right. So look,
We see you.
okay, so I'll turn it over to you all.
All right. Can we get a little bigger screen? Is that possible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So to start off with, I started saying that little change up in program for tonight. As a result of what happened at my business the other week was we had an arborist here from the power company involved in a project where we're taking down some trees along the power line. And he came up to my house, offices, and on the way up into the office, you have to pass by the layout and then indoors to the rest of it. And he was admiring my indoor trees, my scenery. And he made the comment and he said, where are your dead trees? And I said, well, I have a few. He said, well, you don't have nearly enough. He said, if you want this to look realistic, he said, you need more dead trees. I said, well, about how many dead trees do you think I need? And he said, well, if you want to model typical forest from the region where you are, he said about 1 in 8 to 1 in 15 trees standing are dead, depending on the species. So I took all this under consideration, and I just happened to have been doing some removing of some dead shrubbery out in the back of my yard, came up with some bushes that were dead and looked like trees. So I said, okay, I'm going to save these guys. They're not going to go in the dumpster. So I brought those in, and I decided that there's several ways, and Steve and I talked this over, that trees die. First of all, you could have insect infestations that kill them. Some could die of old age. Others could die from lightning strikes, and some could die from fire. So I've decided on my layout, my outdoor layout, I am going to make a small scene along one ravine where we had a fire. And given that, I'm going to have Steve show you the first of our small trees that we have. And if I get my tape measure out, let me take a look. We're going to see this thing just a hair over 7 inches tall, G scale about 15 feet tall, O scale about 30, 60-foot tree in HO. And just for reference, we'll get out the building we built a few weeks ago and get an idea what that's going to look like on the railroad. Then we got some larger ones that I brought in. Here's a bigger one, more G scale in size. And now we're looking at a tree, if I turn this around to the camera, of about 18 inches, 36 feet tall in G scale. And that's not really a large tree, given the forest where trees can be easily 60 or 70 feet tall. So our next step is how do we make it look like it was in a fire? So Steve came up with a couple of methods, and he's going to show you right now burnt trees.
First off, we can do it the real way, which I recommend doing outdoors. And you can see that beautiful flame. We would just run it over the branches, holding it more if we wanted it to be more burned, or further away if we wanted to show a lighter burn color. Of course, this would be a natural color. Or we could take the modern way, which is to use our flat black rattle can that we've used for other segments on here, making buildings and things like that. And that would be to spray it lightly on branches we don't want to have show a lot of burn, or dark if we want to show heavy burn marks. So it'd be more paint, darker color.
Now, the next question is going to be, how are we going to install these on the railroad? So for the indoor application, mine, anybody else that has indoor, Steve's going to show you an idea we have here for installing those.
Okay. This pertains to all those who are using styrofoam. If you're using styrofoam, all you have to do is take the tree, the trunk, and take and put a screwdriver and put a drill in it and do a 4-penny nail or some other thing that you want to use to be glued in the end and stick in the styrofoam so it stays. Real simple, like that. Now, if, as an example, if you have a wooden base or a homosote, you do the same process. You now have something you're sticking in, but you're going to be drilling a hole into the base. So imagine if this was wood. I've already attached what I'm going to stick in the wood to the trunk, and it's glued and it's not coming out. So what we want to do is we want to drill a hole wherever you want to put that, insert it into our scenery. So after we drill the hole, make sure you put something in there that's going to identify that hole, because if your tree is over here, you've got scenery, you are not going to be able to find that hole, guarantee it. So what we use here for an example, it could be a long toothpick that just has the end of it painted red, which would identify where the hole is. Bring the tree over, pull it out, stick it in the hole, and you've got it. Now for the big tree, which is going to be outdoors, we're going to use a finishing nail. We've drilled a hole in the base, in the trunk. We're going to insert a finishing nail, and now Steve will tell you how he's going to mount that on his outdoor railroad.
Actually, we're going to use a framing nail.
Framing nail.
Which has a pretty good sized head. We need that head for one reason. My track on my outside sits on concrete. It's all got concrete subbase. A lot of guys outside wouldn't have that. So you gotta have a couple methods of doing this. It doesn't really matter, you're still gonna need the nail. I'm gonna take a masonry drill bit and drill a 1/4 inch hole down into my concrete. I'm gonna put some 2-part epoxy in there, and I'm gonna slide this right down in there, support it temporarily until the epoxy sets up. And I guarantee you, it's not going anywhere. If I was out into just gravel or fill dirt or something of that nature, I'm probably gonna put some type of base on the bottom of this, bury it down 3 to 4 inches down, whatever I need, where it's stable. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be upright. If I had I guess any other method out there would be to secure this with a longer branch. When I brought this in, I cut it to this length. You could cut these a bit longer and just bury the longer stem of it into the ground.
Steve, did you tell them where they can get this stuff?
I'll tell you the secret place where you get these.
Oh,
Okay. These are a species of holly. This one's called Hillary holly.
I just spell it.
Helleri. And I'm going to tell you the 2 best places to get these. If you don't have them dead in your yard like me, go to the big box stores, Home Depot, Menards, and Lowe's. Go to their landscape department. Say, hey, when your stuff dies here, what do you do with it? And they're going to say, they haul it away. And say, well, I'll tell you what, if you got any dead ones, here's my phone number. Give me a buzz. I'll come over and pick them up for free from you. You won't have to mess with them. Second place, go to a landscape nursery center. They got lots of dead bushes. Same thing. They're going to trash those. Tell them, I'll buy those dead ones for a few bucks, or if you want to give them to me, that's fine too. I'll help you get rid of them. So there's 2 good sources where you're going to find these ornamental Hillary hollies. And we'll take questions on our dead trees. No questions.
No questions, huh?
No, I think where to get them is fantastic. I've never thought about that, but that is fantastic. That's where I get my sawdust from a furniture company that makes furniture, and they're happy if I come by with some black sacks and they'll fill them up for me.
Well, we love free.
Free's best.
Yeah, I do too, but I had never thought about going to Home Depot and saying, what do you do with your dead plant? That's great.
Yeah, and I'll give you Steve's address also. He's got some in the backyard here. You want
All you got to do is come and get them, right?
Yeah. Well, I will say the one thing, when I visit other people's layouts, mostly smaller scales, apparently everybody has incredibly healthy forests on their layouts, because I'll guarantee you they're like 99% green and healthy, and Mother Nature doesn't go along with that. All right, for the second night, changing subject on you, we have.
We lost you. Sound wise.
You lost us?
There, now you're back.
Okay, so yeah, we have operating sessions, and during that, typical like most everybody else, we use a wave bell system. We use 2-way radios because of the size of the layout, indoors and out. And we've learned a few things along the way that a lot of the operators have said, if you do this or you do that, I think it would be better. So taking all that in, here's a couple of the new ideas from recent experience with our operators. First of all, these are the standard 4-part waybill cards. I bet a lot of you have this one here. This one, we just decided that we're going to color code these. And here's a whole bunch of them. And they're all color coded for different trains. They're going to be dispatched. On the back of those, the guys have asked that we put a list of the stations in the order. And in this case, it's east to west, because I have a point-to-point railroad. And we have a little branch line operation also. So they don't have to guess when they're at one place, what's the name of that next place, even though I put it on the fascia. They can just look on the back, and they got it right there. Second item that happens frequently. People say, oh, I laid my waybill card down, and now I can't find it. Believe me, we've had Easter egg hunting sessions trying to find where the waybills disappeared to. So given that, with this little clip, this holds a train worth of cars. The very one in the back, if you look at it, has a red top. That is the caboose at the end of your training. So when you go back through your cards, when you see the ribbon coming up, you know you've looked at all the cards that you have there. Next thing is, what do they do with them? I know we tried pouches you can wear. I have vests that people have pockets in. And this is the very best one I've come up with so far, is this device right here. And this fancy little thing is made from regular electric wire. This stuff, this is some 14-2 wire. 12, this one's a little bigger, 12-2. Go find some scraps. Get yourself one of these out of there. And what you're going to do next, you're just going to take your pliers, bend the loop, just like this. We're going to secure it. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some electric tape, go around this thing and tape that down. On the other end, we're going to turn this thing 90 degrees. We're going to bend this up and down one turn, just like that. So when this thing is finished, and it looks just like this one, you're going to be able to take your cards and you're going to hook them on there just like that. And the next question is, what do I do with this? A couple of things. One, have a shirt like I have with a pocket. You stick it in there. There you are. Nobody loses them. They're really handy. You can flip them up and look out without taking them out of your pocket. Me personally, I'm going to model these for you the other way. This loop is for in your belt or your pocket. You're just simply going to hook that right on there. As you walk around, you got other things in your hands anyway. Very handy, right there at that spot for you. We've got more neat ideas coming up in the future for operating sessions. I think we'll save those for a little later, and I think this one is a real winner. That's it for tonight, Jim.
Well, Steve, I appreciate it so very much. Anybody have any questions for Steve?
Yes, I do. What you had, you were talking about how many standing trees that are dead. How many are fallen?
What they call deadfall. We talked about that with the arborist, and it depends a lot on the species. For example, tall, skinny stuff like we have tulip poplars here. They blow over in the wind pretty daggone easy. Those will either end up stuck in another one next to it because they grow and grows, or when they finally drop to the ground, they bring like 3 or 4 of them down at one time. So there you're going to have a stack of debris on the ground. He didn't really have a specific percentage on that, but if a large tree falls in the forest, I'm sure you've been out in the forest, it leaves an open spot after it falls. All the new little trees will start forming around that spot. So that's typically what the ground looks like. Large dead tree on the ground, broken up in pieces, and new little young trees coming up around it to replace it. That answer your question?
Pretty much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Steve, thank you so very much. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Well, now we'll want to go and talk to Sherry Johnson about her new technology projects. Unfortunately, Sherry has come down with COVID and can't be with us this evening. Although I understand she's doing well, and we expect her back shortly. But for tonight, Bob Davidson is going to be our guest here, talking about laser cutting, which he does regularly as part of his profession. So, Bob, welcome.
Thanks again, Jim. Good to be back. It seems like it's been forever. Actually, we actually don't do any laser work at work. We do job some out. We do industrial metal laser cutting with a local company. But again, I'm going to jump in here and share screen and get this thing started. Everybody see this technology series?
Yep.
Yes.
Sherry is a lot more knowledgeable than I, and she put together a few slides, and I'm just going to go through them and basically read them along with you. So she talks about what to consider when choosing a laser cutter. Obviously, material type of thickness. There are different. Basically, laser cutters are rated in terms of watts of what the output is of the actual laser head. The small ones that most of us will be dealing with are 5, 10, or 20 watt. There are 40 watt. There are industrial ones that go way above that. And there are different types of lasers. She references CO2 lasers. There's fiber lasers. So, there's a lot. There are lasers, as she said, they use to cut steel and aluminum. What I do at home is all wood, and it's all thin wood. Friends of mine are using this to do etching on, mugs and water cups and things like that. So there's a lot of different things that will go into deciding what type of laser you want to get if you decide to get one. Precision and quality, production speed. Again, I'm not doing this as a business. And then the initial investment budget, and I'll talk a little bit about that during my presentation. Costs, frankly, for the home-based lasers, the operating costs are negligible. For larger ones, you get into where you need to have gas mixtures for them to aid in cooling. You can get into some pretty significant utility costs as well. Intended applications, again, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. Power consumption, again, CO2 lasers, the larger industrial lasers tend to can get up there in terms of electrical requirements. Some are water cooled. There's gas environments involved. So, and then obviously the larger the laser, the larger the space it takes up. So this was kind of Sherry's introduction to this. And what I'm going to talk about tonight is just laser cutting basics for model railroading. And I chose this picture as the background. Those of you who a couple years ago saw the episode I did on building my elevated railway, elevated subway, which is an oxymoron, I know. This is all an ITLA kit, ITLA kit out of Canada. Nick Massey's been on the show. He's a great guy. It's a phenomenal company. And all of his stuff is laser cut. And so many of the kits that we see nowadays are laser cut. And I just got an interest in it. And frankly, one of my business partners got one at home. And he said, you should get one too and play with it. So I said, oh boy. So that started the money flowing. Anyway, one thing that I want to point out up front is that laser cutting, the process is transformative, not creative. So unlike filament printing or resin printing, we're not actually building something up. We are taking a product and we're going to transform it into something else. You should have, if you want to be successful at this, you should have an understanding of both raster imaging, which is Photoshop or photographs, and vector, which is straight line geometric drawing, or Illustrator, which is the program I use, files. It's going to be very helpful. And I will say there is a moderate to a high initial investment. As with everything else technological, the costs are coming way down. The laser that I bought, which was close to $900, is now down to $600. So the transformative process, you can cut, you can score, or you can engrave or etch. So those are really the three things that you can do with a laser cutter. Cutting typically we're going to be using something out of Illustrator or Inkscape or, one of those vector programs. Same with scoring. Difference between cutting and scoring. Cutting, we're going through the material. Scoring, we're actually etching a line or a geometric shape into the material. Engraving or etching involves transferring an image onto the material. And that's where you're going to use Photoshop or another image editing piece of software. Initial investment. You need a laser cutter. If you're cutting anything, it makes smoke. And believe me, it makes a lot of smoke. So you're going to need an exhaust enclosure with fans and ducting. A lot of people that I know that do this put it in their garage, and it still stinks up the joint. And then you have to decide what material you want to use for whatever it is that you're going to be fabricating. This is the laser that I got. It's an X tool. It's a 10-watt laser. The bed is about usable space on the bed is about 18 inches square. The actual unit itself is about 24 inches square. You can see on the enclosure on the right, there's a window to look into. And let me just spend a few seconds on safety. This is a laser. You don't look at it. You will go blind. You can also see here there's an exhaust port. The X-Tool cover comes with a fan built into it. And then there's an exhaust hose. It's a 3-inch exhaust hose that comes out. There's a little slot on the side to hold some tools and stuff. This basically opens up so you can put your material inside and then start the process. This is what I rigged up in my basement to boost the exhaust out of the laser cutter. I had an existing line for my spray booth, so I put in some gates and a Y connector and basically brought out another, here's a little better picture of it, brought out another hose that goes through this booster fan, and that goes out. When we had windows replaced in my basement, I had to put a dryer vent in. So I use a 4-inch dryer vent to exhaust everything outside. So this works really well for doing that. I will say that sometimes I open up both gates and I'll run the exhaust fan from my paint booth just to help get even more air going through the system. I can cut now downstairs and you don't smell it. So that's made my wife very happy. So initial investment, the material, I'm going to just jump into my web. Maker Stock, if you recall when I was doing my little shop stuff, Maker Stock is a great resource, even if you're not using laser, because one of the things that they have is this thin birch, and you can get this stuff. Here's this Koski ply. It's an AB birch ply, and they have it as thin as 0.6 millimeters. They have anywhere from 0.6 up to 3/32. So they just have some great stuff. They also have a lot of plastics, metal, etc. They have hardwoods and MDF. I use quite a bit of MDF. So I really recommend this Maker Stock. Their prices are pretty reasonable, and they ship right to you. It's a good deal. So I thought I would just take you through a project or a couple of projects and show you some things that I've done. First thing you're going to do is create the files. So you're going to be doing drawings. So this is, but what you're going to be drawing are components. So I do not typically use my 3D modeling program as I would for my filament printer or my resin printer. I'm using two-dimensional things. I'm using Illustrator or Inkscape or Photoshop. We're then going to export that file as a PNG, DXF. There's a lot of different types of files that you can use that you will import into the cutting software. So the X tool cutter that I have came with a software package called the X Tool Creative Suite. And then we're going to do a test and we're going to cut it. So here's an example of, this was one of the first projects. I think I did this in a My Build about a year ago before I had it together. This is an actual photograph of the sign in Brooklyn. My layout is based in Brooklyn, New York. And on top of their factory for many years, this was an iconic sign in Brooklyn, the Ken tile flooring sign. It was just, it's a monster. And I wanted to model this and put it on top of one of the buildings eventually, whenever I get around to it, on the layout. So what I did was working in, this is a screen capture of an Illustrator file. I laid out the face, so you can see this is the face of the unit. And through doing some testing, I was able to get down, these lines are 0.5 millimeters wide. So I can't tell you what that scales up to. It's about 3 inches, I think, in HO. So this was the main face frame. These were the supporting trusses, and then just a bunch of flat stock to hold everything together. So this is how I exported everything. These were some cross braces. And then here it is when I brought it into the Xtool Creative Space. So you can scale it within the space. There's a whole lot. I'm not going to get into the details. If you decide you want me to come back and talk about this in the future, I'm happy to. Oh, did I just screw up my thing? Did I stop my share?
No.
Oh, okay, good. Over here on the right, there are you can decide whether you want to score, engrave, or cut. Settings, the program comes with a good deal of predefined settings for different materials. You can do it manually. You can set your power percentage from 0 up to 100 or 1 to 100. You can set the speed, and you can set the number of passes. I believe to cut this stuff, I was using 75% power. I was going at 9 millimeters a second, and I made 2 passes to get a clean cut. Here is the trusses and the just flat stock brought into that same program. And here you can see this is what they came out like. So these were all cut out. It cuts really cleanly. You actually do get a burn edge on it. You just wipe them down with some alcohol very carefully. Again, this is 0.5 millimeters. This is on 0.8 millimeter thick goods. But you really get some fine detail on them. This is how I did the letters. So I cut the letters out of that same 0.8 millimeter, and then I used 2 millimeter MDF to make the boxes because I wanted to do them as box letters. Here you can see, then I went back with and I'm a terrible photographer. It looks a lot better than real. I used my filament printer and actually printed out neon tubes to go into all the letters. And then here you can see this is assembled. Again, I'm a miserable photographer, but there's the actual sign assembled, and I haven't done any weathering on it yet, but that's painted and assembled. So that was just one of the first projects that I did with this. Some of you might remember I did this for Father Ron. He had built this movie theater, and I show this because this is where I did. If you could see, some of these lines are black. Those are the cut lines, and what you see is green here. Those are engraved lines. So I actually took these letters and moved them off. They were cut separately, but then I cut this outline of the sign and then engraved all these little rivets, or they're actually meant to be light bulbs. And here's what that sign came out like. And I believe Ron has it on his Palace Theater model. Another one I did, and I think actually Father Ron showed last week, ITLA makes a fire escape. I wanted to modify it a little bit. So I did all these parts and etc. for fire escapes. And so it's a lot of fun. It takes time. You have to go, you do. But once you set up the parameters for cutting or etching a particular material, you can always go back to that. It doesn't change. So it's a pretty cool thing to use. So that's the end of my little presentation. Are there any questions?
Hey, Bob, this is Bob Geldmacher. You mentioned alcohol on the burn edge. Could you
Yes.
talk more about that?
Yeah, I just rub it down after it's cut. You'll see, you'll get it all over your fingers. It's just to clean it up. So I just
Okay.
take I actually use
Just a minute.
I use a Q-tip
Mhm.
and actually found these in the beauty in the dollar store. I got like 300 of them. They're made for makeup application. So they have these pointy ends on them and they're really cool. You can dip them right in the alcohol and then just wipe around the edges. It just gets the soot off of it.
Okay. Does it clear it up, almost like clear wood, or does it still have a little bit of a burn?
It will be dark. It will be dark.
Okay, good.
Bob, Alan Rogers here. I don't have a question, just a comment. I've got an older machine from 2008, and it has to have a 32-bit computer to send the files over to it. But another thing I found, I have to send my engraving files separately from my cutting files. And I don't know if newer machines, if you can do everything at once and it just goes from one to the other. But in my particular case, AI would crash because it couldn't get everything over there.
Yeah, the new ones actually do it all in one shot. So like that sign for Father Ron, as I said, I moved the letters off because that was just a straight cut, but it did the engraving of all the light bulbs and the detailing, and then immediately switched into the cut and did the cutout. Yeah, it's the new software, and actually they just upgraded the software. It really is pretty basic. The one thing that there's some really good YouTube videos on getting set up. One of the things that folks do is they create a little matrix, 10% power up to 100% power, and then speed. And you take a piece and you'll actually do a little sample on a particular piece of material, and that'll show you how deep the engraving might go and things like that. But if you ever happen to get an ITLA kit, just take a minute and look at how detailed Nick gets with leaving little microscopic tabs that hold all the parts together so they don't fall out of the sheet. And it's just incredible. And that's what got me interested in doing this. But I've done some other things. I've done some railings for some platforming and stuff like that. It's just a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. And now, like I say, nowadays, I know on Xtool you can go up and buy that same machine with the head, with a 10-watt head, and with the enclosure, and I think it was on sale for $600. And it comes with the software.
Bob, have you ever used Lightburn?
Yes, Lightburn is the Cadillac of the processing software. But frankly, I got into it, I started using it, and then Xtool upgraded theirs, and it pretty much, for what I'm using it for, since I'm not really doing real high production stuff, I just use the Xtool one. The nice thing now too is it's all via Wi-Fi. So I don't even have to move a disk over, or, a little micro USB or anything. It's just Wi-Fi's right into the cutter. And it is relatively fast. If you look at like the all the parts to make that fire escape, I think that was a 9-minute cut.
Wow.
Jeez.
So like I say, in the future, I'd be happy to get into a lot more specifics, details on it, but I thought for tonight, really just, I know Greg complained when I started telling him to buy $8 tools, so I don't want to screw people up with $600 laser cutters. Any other questions?
I
Hey,
I
Bob,
will.
I just had one quick question. Have you tried or had any luck doing anything smaller than HO scale? Because I've
Well,
had some
again,
people that attempted to make me fire escapes with N scale, and they just didn't have a lot of luck.
Yeah. Again, go to ITLA. That's Nick Massey's company. They have N scale fire escapes. It's ITLA scale ITLA and I'm going to his site right now. And I'm almost positive he has N scale. I've gone as thin as 0.3 millimeters cutting. That's actually what the rails are on the fire escape. The upright, the verticals are 0.3 millimeter. I'm sure with some, again, and I'm using a pretty cheap laser. I would assume that with what Nick is using, he can probably get even smaller than that.
Yeah, that
Probably.
was basically what my question was going to be, because just purchasing them is so expensive because I'm going to need hundreds and hundreds. So I figured if I
Yeah.
bought one of these, learned how to use it, it might, I could learn some things and save a little money as well in the process.
Sure. Yeah, let me see if I can find out what they are.
Bob, have you tried cutting any styrene?
I have not. No, I have not.
Yeah.
So he does, you can get a set of 3 N scale fire escapes with the ladders and everything for $13 from ITLA. Like I say, his style was just a little bit different than the New York style that I wanted. So it's pretty cool.
Well, everything you did looks incredible.
Oh, thank you. I have fun. When I have time, I have fun.
Well, I hope you'll come back and show us some more stuff because I think
Yeah.
it's fascinating. I really do.
Well, you'll be seeing some stuff in some upcoming my builds. So
Sounds good. Anybody have any more questions for Bob?
Well, speaking of my builds, I guess production wise, for doing laser kits and all that, I think that would be getting Chris Course's thoughts on how to, if anyone wants to do high production laser cutting, because that's what I believe most of his kits are, which I have a bunch of them. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. What were you asking there, Ed? My thoughts on.
yeah, getting your thoughts on since Bob is only doing like hobby stuff, what basically what if somebody wants to go into production like what you do, what are your thoughts on for someone who wants to do laser cutting on a production scale?
Well, I only have the one laser that I purchased a few years ago, and it's an Epilogue. That's really the only experience I have with laser cutters. My thoughts are, yeah, there's tons of cheap Chinese stuff out there. And I know like Bob's getting some good results, probably from what he's using it. But from a production standpoint, my main concern is something that's durable, and when it breaks, where can I go for tech support? And with Epilogue, their tech support is in Colorado. And while the replacement parts for this laser are not cheap, generally I'll get them the next day. So, there's trade-offs.
Yeah, I mean, I
I've
wanna
actually
make
been looking at upgrading my laser, or, upgrading to a newer laser. I just don't see that's in the cards anytime soon, but sorry, Bob, I think I stepped on you.
No, that's okay. I just want to stress that, this was frankly just done on my part as a lark. I mean, just to, if you just need to have a thing done, I mean, I'll be honest, I have all three. I have filament, I have resin, and I have the laser. Just because I can. So, and I play with them, but I'm not in business. And I'm sure that any of the units that I have would not be used if I were in business. So, Jim, it might be interesting to approach Nick Massey again and see if he'll do another session for
Yeah,
us.
I was just thinking about that, Bob.
So, all right.
Anybody else? Bob, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it tonight.
Very welcome.
Well, we were supposed to have one more person on this evening, Tom Grossman, but evidently he had something come up and couldn't be here. Tom was going to talk about airbrushes, which ones to buy and how to use them. So hopefully we'll get him rescheduled sometime in the future. But with that said, our show is pretty much over for this evening, and we'd like to show you our caboose. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed the show. Most importantly, we hope you learned something. That's what it's all about. Till next Wednesday, happy modeling. Best of luck to you.